Why, hello. Thank you for coming again. I've got another book review right here for Book Talk. So, again, if you're watching and you don't appreciate books, or it's not your thing, or you're not interested at all, hey, have a good day. But if you're down to be entertained, to learn something new, or to discover something within a book, you're in the right spot. And I've got something special for you today. My book review, that book, is going to be The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. So, before I begin, I'm going to go into a brief summary of the book, what I personally think or learned, and then at the very end, I'm going to give a book a rating. So first and foremost, what is The Mastery of Love about? The Mastery of Love begins with an interesting story. He describes this, let's think of a seminar, let's think of a rock concert, something like that. And he's like the lead band player or the master of this event. So this individual, he invites the individual over to his house because he's like, I'm going to learn from him. I'm so excited. So he preps the table. He gets the finest wine. He gets all kinds of food. He sets everything up comfortably because the master accepted his invitation. Well, some time goes by, and the master doesn't show up. But then a woman comes to the door. She knocks. She then says, "Excuse me, I'm hungry. Do you have anything to eat?" So the guy who is expecting the master is a little irritated, but he goes in and he gets her some food. And she says, "Thank you for your kindness." So then he re-prepares for the master. Here's another knock on the door, and he's excited. Who is it, the master this time? But no, he's disappointed because a man appears in front of him. And he asks, "Hey, excuse me, I'm a little thirsty. Do you have any water?" So he's disappointed again, but he goes and he gets some water and he hands it off to the man. The man drinks it. He says, "Thank you for being so kind. Have a good day." So now the man sitting there, he's just a little more irritated and a little disappointed too because he wants the master to show up. Then he hears another knock. Oh, it's gotta be the master this time. He opens the door, and it's not. It's a little kid though. And the little kid asks, "Excuse me, I'm a little cold. Do you have a blanket for me?" Once again, he goes in and he gets the kid a blanket. And the kid says, "Thank you, sir," and goes off. Now the man goes to sleep. He's disappointed. The master never showed up. So while he's dreaming, in his dream, the master appears in front of him. He sees the master and he's so excited. And the master tells him this: "What you demonstrated for the man, the woman, and the child is the very lesson I was going to teach you when I arrived. They are all the master, just as I am." And when the man woke up, he was enlightened in a sense, for he knew the master taught him that every single person was a master. That is the intro story of the book. And from there, it goes in to show that we've had a wounded mind. We've been in this track of fear because of this accumulation of information from society, from our parents, even our own thoughts, right? And most of these thoughts end up being negative. They end up being things of hate, of fear, and we drag ourselves down because of it. And then from that very beginning of the chapter, it keeps on going, keeps talking about things like the perfect relationship, how in a relationship, ideally you want both people taking care of their growth. And when both people are growing, they come together, and then that relationship grows, and it keeps on going. In the ideal sense anyway. But also, Don Miguel suggests that one person's in growth and the other person isn't ideal. But if this person can maintain their head and everything else, they can be a space or a guidance, a force for the individual who's not so into growth. And then from the perfect relationship chapter, it goes on to a very interesting chapter. Sex, the biggest demon of hell. Now, is sex a demon? Don Miguel goes on to explain that there are two sides of the coin. On one hand, many religions, philosophies, ideas have said that sex is a bad thing. No, don't do it. But he explains that it's natural, like drinking water, eating food. It's something that's a part of nature in the universe, and it can be a beautiful thing. But for those who say, okay then, so I don't have to listen to anything and I don't have to limit myself, well, he provides the other side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is that we act on it compulsively. We think that we crave it and we need it. He says that it's one thing for your body to react to another person that's attractive. Who is attractive, right? They touch you, you're in the moment. Cool. Hey, that's a natural thing. But when that moment is gone, the body is fine, but the mind craves. The mind obsesses. And so he makes a distinction between bodily needs and functions and the way your mind obsesses over things. So I found that to be a very powerful chapter. From there, there's a chapter about the divine temptress, Artemis the hunter, and Hercules. And that's a very good explanation of how we obsess over things. And then it goes on to a chapter called Healing the Emotional Body, which is about taking steps to healing the wounds and all of the garbage that you've accumulated in your life. And then it ends with a chapter about how we are all divine and we are all a part of that which we call the universe or God, the name that you decide to use for a divine force. That happens to be my brief review. Now we get to what I think or what I learned from the book. I want to turn to page 80 in the book real quick. So on page 80, there's this specific sentence. Don't deny what you see just to get the merchandise when that merchandise will not fit your needs. Now, granted, we can look at it as like certain objects that we have, right? Clothes, shoes, video games, cars. We get these things just because they're cool or we like the way they look, but they don't fit our needs and they end up sitting there. And oftentimes we do that with people as well. Right? We look at someone, we go, oh yeah, they look attractive or look decent. That means all the other qualities about them are perfect, right? And this is where you could use a little logic. We all could, in fact. Or we look at a person, we say, oh, they have all these things, but wait a minute. If your relationship's not perfect with yourself in all of its nature, then what makes you think that that other person has all of their stuff in order, right? And we make that mistake time and time again. So I found that to be a very powerful line in the book. I also like the section in particular, the chapter on healing the emotional body. And he gives 3 steps in the book for how to heal the emotional body. Number 1, don't listen to the voices. Now in the book, Don Miguel says specifically, in a weird way, don't listen to him, don't listen to others, and don't listen to most of the voices within yourself. Now logically, does that make any sense whatsoever? Well, Don Miguel goes on to explain that most of the voices that we hear from other people, most of the voices in ourselves are an accumulation from things in society, right? Somebody told you you weren't good enough. Somebody told you that you suck at that thing that you want to do. Somebody told you that you don't fit in, plain and simple. And things like this have often been repeated over and over and over again. And we get stuck on these things. We believe them. We believe these thoughts, these intangible things running around in our skull. And so he says, if you can't do it with everything, if you can't go to the moment you were born with the spirit of a child, at least forget 80% of the things that you believe or that you think about yourself. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, forgiveness. Now, he uses some pretty severe acts in the book as to exercising forgiveness. But many people say, I can't forgive that person. Why am I going to forgive him or her? They did it. Why? Why should I? Now, of course, in the selfish way, right? You don't necessarily want that person or that idea or that event, right, to get away with it. Even though it'd be good to be beneficial for them, or to be wary of that and to wish blessings upon them, even if you can't do that, you can be a little selfish. It doesn't have to be about that external thing. It's about you. It's forgiveness for yourself. And if we are able to forgive everything that's happened, we can begin to move forward. It doesn't mean you forget. You don't have to be that elephant that never forgets either. It starts to drift slowly and slowly. You don't forget it, but you're not attached to it. And from forgiveness, you can begin to demonstrate acts of love. Always asking ourselves, is what I'm about to say or do in the name of love? And with that, all we can do is try our best. So I really appreciated that chapter, Healing the Emotional Body. Now, as far as the overall book, the rating for it, I'm going to give it an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. Once again, being very, very generous. A different take of love that I had never seen before. Now, I come from a background of using more logic and believing more that everything's about the brain. But in this book, it really did start to make me think that, logic isn't going to get everything that I need. It's an important tool, but it will not provide the answers that I'm looking for. They all are, in a sense, in a spiritual manner, within. So I appreciated the practicality of that. Good stories in every chapter. For some reason, I always like imagery, and I didn't see a lot of pages or imagery in the book. Yes, through stories, but I wanted to see things fleshed out more practically. So that is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. I thank you guys for watching. Any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them as I'm trying to get better and better. And it'll allow me to answer back full of love. Also, I dedicate this book review to my girlfriend. I'll be going over to her house to celebrate her birthday, right? Get a little dancing in, little grooving, a little salsa, a little bachata. Yeah, learning more and more, having a good time. If I miss the beat a couple times, hey, as long as she and I are having a good time, that's what matters in the name of love. Anyway, thank you so much. I hope you guys all have a good day.